What's up, everybody? This is the Digital World Podcast. I was perusing through Zillow like I do on a pretty consistent daily basis. And, as far as, the mortgage rates that I've been tracking, and this is the average, right? So this is the 6.75% 30-year mortgage. This is the average that I'm seeing on here. However, when I peruse through Zillow, sometimes you can mess with. If you go to a certain home, you can look at the calculator, right, and it'll give you kind of what the going rate is for a 30-year mortgage. And I happen to stumble with homes having, again, you'd have to go through the process, right, to get a 30-year mortgage loan. Um, and they'll quote you, for whatever it's going to be, depending on who you're doing business with, whoever does your banking, they'll determine, right, like your rate. But for the most part, right, they're all pretty close together, and there's a lot of factors, right, that weigh in on your mortgage rate. But anyways, I saw a 7.1% 30-year mortgage rate. Now, that is an increase from what I've typically seen, where it's like 6.8, 6.85, around that area. And I don't think people understand what's happening or what's going to happen. And a lot of people are drinking the Kool-Aid and thinking, oh, wow, we're going to get rate cuts. And that's going to make mortgages cheaper. Well, what happened last time we had rate cuts? What happened to your mortgages then? That's right. You didn't guess it. It went up, right? And then unless you've been watching this channel, then you know that mortgage rates went up last time the Fed cut rates. And one thing we're keeping track of here is the 30-year Treasury yield for the 30-year bond. Now, right now it's at 5 flat, right? It was at 5.01 last time I put out a video. But that's kind of where we're at. I recently just saw some data that Texas has 138,000 homes for sale, and I'm wondering what counties that encompasses. So, but apparently, the last time that it saw something this high pre-pandemic, it was around 109,000 homes listed, and we're currently at 138,000 homes listed for sale in Texas. Again, I'd have to confirm the counties, but that is astronomical. And we're not even done with 2025. And we're in the season where typically you see a lot of home sales take place. So that tells you everything you need to know about where we're going. And what you're seeing is, like I said, each region for housing is different. It's not created equal. Some spots are harder markets than others. So those harder markets are going to see a bigger drawdown. And I think ultimately what we're noticing is that the sellers, right? I mean, I can't even tell you how many listings I've seen go up for sale in my area. And again, it's not a Florida, it's not a Texas, but however, you're still seeing it, and I'm seeing price cuts, 50,000, 60,000, 100,000, and I'm not exaggerating. I've seen these price cuts. I was quite surprised when I saw $100,000 price cut. I really was. That for me, and this was, let me see, this was probably 2 to 3 weeks ago that I saw a $100,000 price cut. I've seen multiple, $20,000, $25,000 price cuts, $25,000 price cuts, right? But usually those happen, you'll have 1 month where it'll happen. They'll go several months, and then they'll do another $25,000 price cut, right? I've seen homes that have been price cut. They listed it, get this, they listed it at $650,000 initially. It might have even been $675,000, and now that same house is listed for $499,000. So that is, you do the math on that, right? That's almost $150,000 cut off. Now that home's been on the market since 2024, I believe, fall of 24. So it's almost a whole year. You've had $150,000 price cut on that home. So what does that tell you? If you don't have anyone coming to your house and visiting, or any showings, right? Especially within the first 30 days or so, that house might be sitting for a while, right? Right now, I think depending on where you are, what area you're living in, you're gonna be hard pressed to find, right? Anyone buying your house, depending on in my area, any house that you see with acreage, right? A good price point where you'll see people start jumping on that is 400,000, right? You'll see a lot of people say, "Wow, that's a good deal." That's with acreage, right? If you have a regular house, in a good area, you can. If it's still that 400,000 range, is probably a price point people will be jumping on, right? And this is so it just depends on your area, whatever those price points are, and so it's interesting to see the dynamics play out, right? And you got to be a patient buyer. If you're wanting to get a house, don't be desperate. I saw something, a post about this the boomer generation. Excuse me, boomer generation. A lot of them are getting really old, and so what happens when you have one of the biggest generations starting to pass away, and there's excess homes coming to the market, and there's not a lot of, like, if you look at the just demographics alone, you ask yourself, well, what's going to happen with all this housing that will come in the market in the next decade, 5 years even, you know what are you going to do about the prices? Because right now, obviously, this generation can't afford to pay the price amounts for some of these houses. Inevitably, they're gonna have to come down, right? And so I think we're at a crossroads, and we're in the midst of it. In the midst of it, don't get it twisted. Don't think that we're good. No, we're in the midst of it. So stay alert, pay attention. I think there's more price cuts coming, unless a deal comes that you cannot pass by. Be patient. Be patient, because there will be good deals coming along. So that being said, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe to the channels, the Digital World Podcast. I'll see you in the next episode.